Hey guys, welcome back to Review a Day. I'm going to wrap up Flash Week here with two reviews, sort of two reviews, one very brief review and a second review. Surf Russia was asking what the best Flash versus Gorilla Grodd story was, and that dovetails nicely into the next volume of Jeff Johns' run, which is the Flash Blitz over there. The majority of the volume is taken up with the new Professor Zoom, or rather just Zoom. But the first half is an amazing Grodd fight where the Iron Heights Penitentiary is taken over by Grodd and a bunch of the other rogues and criminals. It's really intense, leads into the next arc. Awesome story. More so than the previous thing I mentioned with Grodd, this is what really sold me on it. He is freaking scary in this book. But the main thing that I want to talk about is the volume after Blitz, which is Ignition over here. So this was a much maligned storyline, I think, when it came out. Basically what happens, I'm going to spoil the end of Blitz for you guys. Professor Zoom takes, takes Flash to the limit, and things are so bad, and his twins end up being essentially killed in the womb. His wife, Linda, has a miscarriage, and Flash decides, I don't want anybody to know I'm the Flash anymore. So the Spectre sets that up for him, because the Spectre's a cool guy like that. And nobody remembers who the Flash is, including Wally West. So, what happened with Ignition, people were kind of upset that you had a complete change of the status quo going on here. They were also a little upset, you have Alberto Dos's art, which is much darker, as you guys can see. I mean, granted, that's a night scene, but it's much darker and moody. It's noirish in a certain way. But what people didn't realize, I think, until it was over, is there was a reason for this. The whole thing that's going on is the whole city is darker, it's murkier because the Flash isn't there anymore, and it shows how Wally West rediscovers that he's the Flash, rediscovers his heroism, and rediscovers who he is. There's some great stuff in this volume. Wally spends a good portion of the time hanging out with Len Snart, who he doesn't realize is actually Captain Cold, and dealing with a very noirish mystery at the same time. In particular, it was structured in such a way that you get Alberto Dos's art, which I do think is actually pretty good, though obviously a huge departure from what Scott Collins was doing on the series. And then right at the end, as he rediscovers really that he's the Flash and he decides to go back to his legacy, you get the art starts to brighten, people are happy again, the rain stops in the city, and once again, the Flash is running, and you get Howard Porter's art. This is the plan all along, and you have to get through those issues to understand it. So at the time, people thought this is the new status quo for the Flash. It's going to be a dark, moody, noirish book, but really the plan was to have 4 issues, bring it back, finish it. So I think this is a really great volume, and it's a really great capstone for Jeff Johns' run. Beyond this, you have 2 more volumes, Return of Barry Allen and Rogue War, which are both really good stories. My biggest problem with these 2 volumes, even though there's some good stuff in them, is the continuity of the DC Universe started to intrude on what was going on. Even some of the stuff that Jeff Johns was doing himself. But you have, it's dealing with stuff from Identity Crisis and then Infinite Crisis, Society of Supervillains, all that stuff, which is disappointing for something that has been very unique and set on its own for the majority of the run. So definitely pick up those volumes after it, because as I said, I do think there's some good stuff, but really Ignition right over here is a great capstone to the series and reiterates, I think, everything that Johns wanted to say about the hero. So if you end there, you're not really going to be losing anything other than Card Fletch continuity. And then after Jeff Johns' run, things not so good. So that is it for Flash Week. I'm going to be back tomorrow, of course, with an entirely new subject. So we'll just see what happens. And there's going to be a different book from then on. So let me know what you guys want to see. Post requests below and whatnot. And keep your comments coming, and I will keep responding to them. Thank you guys for still watching. I'll see you tomorrow.